Morning, y'all. So I wanted to give my 2 cents on the girl that's charging extra for the baby with autism or for autism clients, period. I see a lot of mixed emotions, and I personally feel like this is literally just a case of it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Because I've seen some parents in the comments where this has been reposted that are saying, you know what, I have a child with autism, they're not easy to deal with. I would pay extra for anybody that's willing to deal with my kid, yada, yada. I think that sometimes, too, we forget that there's a million and one different places on the spectrum that a child with autism could be. So not every child is the level of autistic where they're stimming and they're freaking out and sounds bother them and things like that. It really just depends. I think that sometimes as service providers, we want to set rules and boundaries, but we do face a dilemma of how we are to do that, because you obviously don't want to be put in a position where you're dealing with someone that you don't have experience in, if that makes sense. I'm trying to be careful with my words, but like, for instance, for myself, I've not dealt with a lot of children with I'm just going to say that are different, because I don't want to say developmental disabilities, but I don't have any experience in dealing with children that are not neurotypical. There we go. And so for myself, I wouldn't know what to do if I was put in such a position. I just know that I would be frustrated. And that's just me being completely candid and honest with you guys. It's hard dealing with neurotypical children if they don't want to sit still. So it really just depends on the type of child that you're dealing with. Now, what I will say is the majority of the time, when you have a child that is, most of the time when you have a child that is different, like I said, I'm trying to be careful with my words. Most of the time parents will ask. So I'm not exactly sure if maybe this is something that she deals with often and that's why she put it on her booking site. I don't see, I personally don't feel like she was necessarily rude about it. But I feel like there's some of those situations where there's no like polite way to say it where someone's not going to be offended if they're choosing to be offended. It's just like the conversation we had about like somebody with bad breath. You could tell somebody they have bad breath. They're either going to be receptive or they're going to defend themselves and say, no, my breath doesn't stink, but you're smelling it. You know what I mean? So for me, I have learned over time, not everything belongs on your booking site. You could just have a conversation with the client per se. And if the client was to ask, hey, do you work with children with autism? Then you could say, you know what? I don't have the experience in that. I'm not the most comfortable. Or you know what? Hey, we could try it out. And if it doesn't work, whatever. I just feel like sometimes what happens is things are put on our booking sites and we're doing it as a way of setting a boundary or maybe making a disclaimer. And it's coming off as bullying to people, so I think it's really just a case of just what was being said and maybe how people took how she said it. And then, I think the person that she was texting literally put that up and was like, hey, have you ever seen this or dealt with this before? But, I've seen these videos of barbers, like, having to exercise extra patience or shut a shop down because the child might have sensory overload and things like that. And, when you're, if you are in behavioral therapy, you're getting paid more than someone that's dealing with like, neurotypical children or with anything. When you are a specialist in a field, you get paid more. So I would say that if her specialty is going to be to deal with children on the spectrum, then maybe factor that into her prices. I don't know. I personally have not. I've been in one situation where a client brought their child to me and I don't know what was wrong, but the child was just different. And I really didn't have any issues, but my concern was that the child was nonverbal and she did not tell me that. And so I'm speaking to this child and I'm trying to make sure the baby's okay. And I'm not getting any response. She's just staring off into space. So I feel like, as parents, it can be tricky because a lot of parents will pull the bait and switch on you and slide their kid in just in order to get their kid an appointment. But at the same time, it works out if the appointment goes kosher. But if the appointment goes sideways and you never told me that there was anything going on, that could be a liability. That could put me in a tricky situation. So, I mean, I feel like homegirl's going to do whatever she's going to do. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't in this industry, especially dealing with your own people, So, I wouldn't necessarily say that she was wrong. I just think that she could have went about it differently. But if I'm not mistaken, the young lady said that she has an autistic child herself. And so she knows what goes into caring for that child during the appointment. I really don't believe that she meant any harm. But I think a lot of the time, too, you got these stylists that LOL everything and exclamation mark everything. And it just seems really childish. And so I feel like with such a serious matter, maybe that's why everybody was offended. I don't know. That's my 2 cents. Okay, editing Tay here. So at the end of this video, I'm going to add a screenshot from another client of mine where she said that she had a similar experience. Her boss hired her to braid her son and did not tell her until she got there that the baby was autistic. Made an issue, pretty much just made the whole entire appointment traumatizing for everybody. Like, my client was kicked, bit, some more shit. They was holding the kid down so she could finish braiding her hair. It was a mess. So I'm going to leave it at the end. Y'all can pause to read.